This video is a vocabulary video, so I'm going to go to the vocabulary section of my notebook and scroll over to a blank space. There are 4 vocabulary words for this lesson, so you will need to make 4 flashcards or however you're making your vocabulary study system. I'm using just flashcards, but however you have done this to this point, go ahead and stop the video and make 4 new cards for this lesson. Okay, the first word that we need to define is graph. Graph has 1 syllable. It is a noun because graph is a thing. And I've been doing math with my iPad, so give me just a second to get it back where I need it to be. So graph, gr, a, f. The PH is making the F sound, so we have a short A. It says a, graph. Graph is a noun. Okay. And here's the definition of graph. A graph is a visual display of information or data. And anytime you see visual, think of what you see. So visual relates to the eye. It's through the sense of vision. And we'll add that to our word parts in just a second. We have 2 to add this time. And I made a note down here so I wouldn't forget this time. Okay, the second term is line graph. So you have the word line. That is a long I. It says its name. And there's the silent E. That's what makes the I long. So line and then graph. Let's go ahead. I won't be lazy. There's the I, line graph. So 2 syllables there. And this one is, we know that graph is a noun. Line in this case is an adjective because it's telling me what kind of graph we're talking about. So line is the adjective that tells what kind, and graph is the noun. A line graph shows trends or how data changes over time. And when you talk about line graphs, there are 3 terms that you need to know. And that is rise or increase, fall, which means decrease, and then constant means no change. So as we work with line graphs, we often use these 3 terms to describe what's happening with the line graph. The next term is circle graph. So we have cir, that's an R-controlled syllable, cul, circle, and then of course graph. I won't keep doing that one. I think we've got that under control. But adjective is the circle part, tells what kind. Any word that tells what kind or which one is an adjective. And a noun. I can't remember if I've mentioned this so far, but there are 8 parts of speech in English. So you have an adjective, a noun, that would be 2 parts. So there are 6 other types that we should eventually see. But most of what we're doing here will be nouns because we're talking about things that we identify in science. A circle graph is used to show how a fixed quantity, or let's say a fixed amount, and that fixed amount will always be 100%, is broken down into parts. So a circle graph is used to show parts of a whole. A line graph is used to show change over time. And these parts on a circle graph are called sectors. And we're going to look at this in detail. So don't worry if this doesn't make perfect sense right now. By the time we finish this lesson, it should be very clear what we're talking about. So let's just get the definitions and then we'll worry about actually understanding what's going on. There's a lot in this chapter. Okay, the last term is bar graph, and I have bar. That A is R controlled, so it has a funny sound. Bar graph. Bar is the adjective that tells what kind, and graph is a noun, person, place, or thing. A bar graph is useful for comparing information by counting. I've read that this is the most popular type of graph in the world, and I would believe it. Bar graphs are everywhere, and they're used to compare. That's the main purpose of a bar graph, by quantities that can be counted. And we're going to be drawing some bar graphs and looking at some bar graphs, so you should develop an understanding of those very soon. Okay, I'm going to move this over so I won't forget it. Well, I have my iPad set to deselect everything. Let me try that again. Let's cut that, and I'll move it to the end. It looks like our next chapter has a lot of vocabulary, so I'll put it right here so we will remember to add the word parts. And we have 2 word parts in this lesson, so I'm going to go to that section of my notebook and over to the next part. Let's see. The first one is a root. We've already added this one actually, so we don't have to add it. It's the root graph. That is the one I was planning to add right here. So, graph is something you see. And just, again, we're associating graph with the eye. It's something that you observe with vision. The other word part we'll put under prefix. I think that would be the best place. And that is viz. V-I-S. Viz is related to the sense of sight. So this lesson that we're in is going to deal with graphs. These are things that we see, we study with the eye to understand information. So viz is also related to the eye. That is not a very good eye, is it? But I'm not an artist. I don't claim to be an artist. But here are some examples of viz. We have vision. That's what the eye doctor tests. Visual is something that you look at to understand it. Visible means that it is something that can be seen. So anytime you're seeing viz, think vision, think the eye. It is something that can be viewed. Okay, that brings us to the end of the vocabulary for this lesson, so I will see you soon for the next part.